before my trailer, broke and I had that little scare and all that stuff, I had stress about something else. It was a crazy weekend, right? Not stressed, but like it was a little challenging, right? And that was large playlists. I had a monster playlist on my Friday wedding. Check this out. This is what I got, right? It was an Excel spreadsheet. So it's categorized by categories, right? 1, 2, 3 full pages, right, of songs, all categorized, color-coded. Craziness, right? And I figured, I've talked about some of this in the past, but I want to give you guys some tips, what I did this weekend, because this wasn't just a large playlist, right? This was actually a little more, like it was a little more difficult than that. It wasn't just a large playlist. It was also, it probably had 20% of like, quote unquote, like regular kind of play at every wedding songs, and everything else was deep, right? Everything else was like deeper stuff, good stuff, a lot of good stuff, like a lot of shit I forgot about, a lot of great stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like deep enough where with a wedding crowd, you got to be careful how you mix it, right? You got to mix it the right way. You got to present this stuff the right way, or else it's not necessarily going to work right away, right? You got to like really. It took a lot of thought. So I want to give you guys some tips on this, okay? So first off, if you get a large playlist from a couple, don't cry. Don't cry. It's going to be okay. You just follow these tips. You'll be fine, okay? It's just a little extra work. At the end of the day, though, you're going to discover some songs you didn't know about or you forgot about, right? And it's a great challenge. And you're going to, I made up 3 different little mix kind of routines through this playlist that I'm using at other weddings that I used at the other 2 weddings that worked as well too, which is really cool. So like, you're going to learn from this too, right? It's just a little extra work. So first thing you got to do is you got to organize it. This is how I organized it. So Melissa, maybe I should have blurred their name, whatever. Melissa Matt's a regular name. Melissa Matt, right? So formalities is their songs. You should do this every wedding. I do this every single wedding, by the way, but this is what I did for this particular one because they had such a large playlist. So formalities is their first dance, their parent dances, their last song, all that stuff, right? Dinner, obviously dinner. Then I have bangs. I'm going to talk about it in a second. Slow stuff and fill is on the bottom. So this is what I did personally. Bangs are all the dancing songs. Now, all her dancing songs here were categorized in different categories, but I put it under one category called bangs just because I wanted to be able to search all the dancing music at once, right? I wanted to be able to just look at all the dancing music at once, organize it by BPM, and go by there. But then also, if I'm in certain lanes or if I think one certain thing would work, I wanted to go through and kind of, select one genre or whatever and have that freedom, right? So that's why I have it all under one. When you're organizing this, there's 2 main things you want to do. And it has to do with the meeting, right? So when I had a meeting with her, she sent me the list. I told her one thing. I was like, all right, awesome. Love the list. I'm pumped about this. But do me a huge favor, right? If they haven't already, say, do me a huge favor. Let me know what the must plays are, right? Because there's like 130 songs on this list, right? So be honest with them. Say, listen, I'm not going to be able to play every song, but I'm going to play as many as I possibly can. But can you let me know which ones are must plays? And she did so with the orange. So she highlighted in orange what the must plays were. So you see like Dance Dance Fall Out Boy, Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, Thank You for Loving Me, Ain't That a Kick in the Head, Stand By Me, that sort of thing, right? So she highlighted those for me. That way you know the must plays, right? And separate them. So you have a folder, you have a crate for must plays. So you're good to go for must plays now, okay? So you got that covered. Then I organized the rest of the list, right? I went through all the music and I organized it basically how she had it. I mean, a couple songs I like moved around that I thought like, because you want to organize it in a way you think of music, right? I always say that with crates. I think it's very important, So if like something sounds like a 90s club song, maybe it's not technically 90s club, but if that's what it sounds like to you, put it in a, you know what I mean? That way, because when you're going to mix, you want to have, things in the right places where you're going to flow right? Because it's got to make sense to you. So I adjusted little things, but mostly I used all her list, like including the, you see that booty shaking? The booty shaking list, like she has booty shaking jams, rock alternative, 80s freestyle, 90s dance, 90s hip hop, slow dance, all that stuff, reggae. So I basically used her things, all the folders. Once I organized everything into the folders, right, and I had everything all set in front of me, and I'm listening to the songs as I'm doing it, right, I'm getting familiar, then I made my fillers folder, right? My fillers, you see it on the bottom there? It's like the little fillers. That's the dance floor fillers. What I did was, and I highly recommend you do this with bigger lists, or any lists, is I went through and I tried to figure out which songs I could start a dance set with, fill a dance set with, recover from a song that didn't work with, right? Like the best songs in there. I picked out, I think she had Uptown Funk in here, so that went in there. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough by Michael Jackson, that went in there, right? Like your fill. Shout was on here. I put Shout in there. What else? There's a bunch of them, right? You kind of go through. Jump Around by House of Pain was in there. I put that in there, right? The basic dance floor fillers, if there is any. Hopefully there is. You know what I mean? She had a couple. I think there was like 6 or 7. Have that in a separate folder, because number one, you're gonna go to that folder when you want to open up the dance floor, right? You play a slow song, or if you're opening up the dance floor cold, right? You go to that folder, play one of those songs, right? But also I use it as a recovery. As I was mixing, some of the more obscure requests or whatever, I had other ones of requests that I knew would work no matter what, that I could fall back on if it didn't work, right? So it gives you that little sense of security, and it really helps you along. So always pick out the bangers, the true, like, proven wedding songs, if they have any in their request list, right? And put it in there. Now, as far as early on, when you're mixing and you have, and this in particular, right? Because sometimes you get a large playlist and it's like all the songs you'll play anyway, or it's just a lot of basic shit. This one has like dark wave on it. This one had like some deep freestyle, like Point of No Return. Not that that's deep, but it's just older. You know what I mean? TKA, Tell It to My Heart by Taylor Dane. This one had an extensive rock alternative with like Du Hast and Red Hot Chili Peppers and Devil Went Down to Georgia and Marilyn Manson and Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. Right? These are a lot of bangers, but not something you could just like play a whole set of and you think, you know what I mean? Like it's not gonna, you gotta present this stuff the right way. So what I did first is I wanted to get everybody as drunk as possible, right? I wanted to have, just like every wedding, I wanted it to be the best vibe possible. And the early on, dinner, dance, everything, like everything you do early on is so crucial to this, because the drunker people get, the more loose they are, the more they're just having fun because of the vibe, because of the music, because of everything, the more I'm gonna be able to get away with later when I drop some crazy shit, right? So early on, I did my own thing. I did what I normally do, right? I'm reading the crowd. I'm kind of playing a lot of like my stuff, and then I'm sprinkling in their requests. Whereas like if you have 5 or 6 requests, first dance set, a lot of times you'll play most of the requests up front and just knock them out, right? Like a lot of people do that. Not in this situation. You want to sprinkle them in, right? Because you really want to get people drunk. You really want to get people moving and grooving and vibing. So like I did my own thing, right? But I tried to sprinkle little stuff in, and I actually made the mistake of this wedding where I did a little too much of the list at first, because I'm like, all right, well, the first 3 songs I played like kind of worked. I'm like, all right, well, let me do a bunch of her songs in a row right now, and it cleared it cleared the dance floor. Like I had like 5, 6 people left. I'm like, all right, we're going to dinner early. And then we just went or not dinner, the next course, whatever. And we had formalities to do or whatever, but I cut the dance set probably like 6 minutes early, right? So sprinkle. Don't do 3, 4 in a row. Just sprinkle, right? Sprinkle them in so they know that you're referring to the list, but do your own thing and get people pumped. Then, as people get drunk, then you take more risks. And that is when you can really start dropping Down with the Sickness. Ooh, ah, and all that shit. Just have game plans. When you're dropping a Down with the Sickness, when you're dropping Marilyn Manson, when you're dropping Du Hast, right? If there's anybody from Germany in the chat, it's a banger. If you're dropping Du Hast, you got to have a backup plan with these people, okay? So, like, know what you're going to get out of if it doesn't work. Know if it works really well, what to go in next, and if it doesn't work really well, what to get out of it with, okay? Maybe plan ahead of time, maybe mess around with it ahead of time, but just regardless, however your workflow is, however you prepare for weddings, just have backup plans when you're dropping, more risky songs, because you don't want to get caught with Serato face if it fails and you don't know what to play next, and you're bugging, and now the dance floor is clearing, and then now you have to get them back, and that's even harder, right? Once they're out there, it's easier. Once you clear it, it's harder. We all know this, right? So just trust me. But then luckily they got drunk, and I started hammering this list, and I had a lot of fun playing with this stuff. There was so much stuff I never get to play, and yeah, I got to do it. It was a good ass time. A lot of stuff I never get to play. So, and shout out to DJ Overalls. He was there. He said he watches the show. I don't know if he's watching now, but he was actually at the wedding. He did the after party and all that, and yeah, so it was cool to meet him. But yeah, definitely fun wedding. Heed my advice if you have these large playlist people. Trust me.